Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, a podcast on the FX television series Fargo. I'm Bill, and I produce the show with my buddy Charpie. Charpie, how are you?
I'm great. You are the show, Bill.
Oh, I don't know if that's true. Hey, speaking of our show, hopefully I felt like we talked more about Tate's cookies than we did about anything else. But boy, these penultimate episodes are always tough. They don't completely tie up loose ends. They just lay a lot of groundwork, don't they?
Yeah, the thing about the earlier shows is there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of character development. There's a lot of setting the lay of the land. And that's very interesting to us. Now we're in the world and we know the world. So there's less of that exploration and more kind of like tying things up. And that's good too.
Yeah, I think so. Funny enough, we did add our podcast to Spotify this year, which it hasn't been before. I don't remember why, but we got a review today. They didn't like the show. They thought we rambled, which we do. We've fully owned it, but I at least wanted to just at the front end of the show, and we're not looking for any crazy compliments or anything. It was just always funny because sometimes you forget you're on the internet, and so people say things. But I was like, hey, fair enough, bud. You don't want to listen, you don't have to. It's okay. And I thought, well, I hope if the first episode you listened to was the hot dish, that might not have been our best. But
if you're listening to the show for a recap and that's it, then don't listen to this show.
You know, it's funny, though, but I was like, well, whatever. And then I randomly had to go to Apple Podcasts for something else. And I noticed, there's another review there from Sunday. And I just, you know what? I'm going to at least read this one because this person seems to get it a little bit. And I think it's nice. So I'm just going to read it real fast. They say fun, local, funny, et cetera, et cetera. Stumbled upon it. I'm just trying to get to it. Easy listen, fun, lighthearted conversation, recap with original insight hosts, genuine love of the show and their hometown, satisfying attention to detail, Easter eggs, just a swell time. Feels like listening in on two friends talking about a show they love, which is basically what this show is. He did say tangents sometimes, but the hosts are self-aware, so they are not annoying or drawn out, and they usually add to a deeper understanding of upper Midwest culture, so they're like a bonus. Give it a try. You might like it. And be sure not to skip out on the hot dishes. How else are you going to learn about blue salads? No, it's okay.
See, that is the point.
Not everyone has to like us. I mean, and our show has definitely shifted from season one now, and so have we. But we're here.
Well, you remember why we weren't originally on Spotify, because originally Spotify didn't have podcasts.
That too.
That came later.
I just thought it was funny. It's the internet. There's reviews, and you know what? We put this thing out on the internet, so therefore we are subject to criticism, and that's okay. I just thought it was nice to come across a nice balancing act today. So whoever that was that left that review, thank you if you're still listening. If we haven't lost you yet either.
I can safely say it would be a little bit difficult for us, Bill, to run for Stark County Sheriff.
You think so?
Or maybe not.
I mean, maybe just the fact that I wouldn't trust me with a handgun. Let's get into episode 9, The Useless Hand. I think we're going to uncover a few things that we didn't think of when we visit with each other here. Is this the second time? I know it's the second time, or is there a third time we've seen an ice house and or ice hole in Fargo? I know season 1, there's the ice house scene, where they put the guy's head first into the hole, which was...
Mm-hmm. That's right. I don't have my ice house tally on me right now, but at least 2. You might be, I don't know. I can't think of the third one.
I don't think it's because I'm not sure if there is. Someone write us in and help correct us, because we do count on you guys. You all out there, you catch things for us. But my only thing I couldn't stop laughing about was the way Ole was warming the knife in the fire, kind of with his hands out, holding it. And all I kept thinking was the internet meme about Voldemort holding his wand. Go back and watch it. I don't think that's intentional. I think he's just trying not to burn his hands, but it had that internet Voldemort meme going on.
I love a good ice house. I love a good ice hole. Can't say I drink a lot of ice house beer. Definitely drank a lot of ice hole peppermint schnapps.
There are bars that pop up on Minnesota lakes. Full bars will pop up out there during ice fishing season if they can pull it off. But
yeah. Speaking of ice hole, there is a bar called the Ice Hole, I think on Lake Lida. Is that still around?
I think so. Well, not right now.
In this ice house bar called Ice Hole, you can actually ice fish. Right there. There's just holes right in the floor. You can take a shot with a little minnow in it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. We've probably even talked about it.
Are you an ice fisherman?
I am not. I'm not an ice fisherman. I don't even like summertime fishing. I don't know if it was growing up with a lot of Lent in my life. That's Lent, Lente. And I just was like, I don't want fish. I don't need fish anymore in my life.
Well, to me, ice fishing and regular fishing is more just about hanging out with friends and drinking.
I agree, and that's why I skip all of the extra crud. I'm like, I can do all of this on land with a lawn chair, and I don't have to worry about drowning or falling through the ice or getting a sunburn or any of those things.
You're not there to pretend like you're, trying to scavenge for your next meal.
I don't want to do it. And then on top of it, you catch it, then you got to deal with it. I'm like, no, that's what the grocery store is for. I don't garden either. So
how much ice how thick does the ice have to be, do you think, to support a Ole munch?
500 years of sin.
That's 500 years of Ole. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's heavy, man. I'm going to go 9 to 10 inches.
You know what? Why would I do it? I'm not even going to pretend I know. Forget it. Let's talk about Gator. Let's talk about Gator and his pleading. I'm pleading with you to talk about the show.
How much does 500 years of sin weigh?
You know what you can't do with 500 years of sin? You cannot offer Ole a damn thing that he wants. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't want drugs, guns, armor, a flamethrower, Spaceballs, the flamethrower. Kids are going to love that one.
I mean, he's seen it all. That's probably why he even talks the way he does, referring to himself as a man. He's probably gotten bored over 500 years. He's done all the drugs. He's done all the things. He's had all the friends, and now he just wants to be simple and set things right.
I like that he tested the knife out, like the fact that it was glowing, touched the one side of it to his hand. But I wondered if that was just to let us know that he feels no pain. He's beyond, he's like superhuman. Sure. He's supernatural. He's something else. Like, doesn't bother him. Just sizzle on the hand. He's like, well, anyway, going to move on and stick this into Gator Jokiri over here. And, and then he talks a little bit about the old woman watches a young man. And I thought about this a little, and I just thought, is it a commentary to a certain degree on, hey, you know what? Mind your own business. Even we made jokes about her just sitting around and drinking, but it's like, I don't know. What business of his is ours? Who's she hurting? No one. Her son has abandoned her and abused her because he spit the nipple from his mouth. She bothers no one, and yet you killed her, basically, right? That's what he says. And I immediately, for some reason, thought of, he's so mad, and it's my passion for the TV show The Wire. Don't kill anyone who's not in the game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's not exactly innocent either,
Who's not innocent?
Ole.
Gator killed somebody who's not in the game.
Right.
And that in and of itself needs retribution, needs balance. It's a debt that needs to be paid, right? Because I think that's what I think we're going to talk more than we think today about debts and what's coming.
This for that. If Ole was in the WWF, his name would either be the Sin Eater or the Hammurabi Hammer.
Ooh.
That's what I say. He's on a quest for the salvation of all the heels.
What if he was called the Sincere? Because he means what he says, and he's a sincere.
I like that too.
Why do we have a show? We're dumb. But yeah, you're right. You've brought us back to the Hammurabi. It's eye for an eye. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says what is taken must be given. It's a real this for that. We're led into this episode with Jesus Paid the Debt by Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers, which is just a recalling of, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it very early in the season about, Jesus being the reciprocal end of violence, that Jesus gave everything to pay all of our debts for all of our sins. And so I thought it was a very apt song, Jesus Paid the Debt, yet here we are, all of us still creating reciprocal violence or even having the need to go eye for an eye still. If we would stop reliving these moments with each other, whether real or fictional.
When we cut to the Tillman Ranch after that ice house scene, we first start on the windmill, which obviously has a lot of significance throughout this season. But I feel like an idiot because I was looking at the TV and I was looking past the windmill, and you can see the ranch in the background. And all I could see was this big sculpture of a horse. And I was like, what is that horse? Maybe I need glasses, and I'm also an idiot. And I'm like, what is that big horse in the background? Well, it's not a horse. It's two buildings, but they look just like a horse.
I noticed that too.
You did.
And a little bit, it was like, it looks like an old wooden horse. And I had a moment where I thought maybe it was like a Trojan horse look.
Yeah, exactly.
And we see people out there because I think that little thing way off in the distance is the little church type thing or something, because it's been in the background in multiple scenes in this episode. So I feel like they're teasing us towards something. So aside from your making fun of yourself, glad you picked up on it. I even haven't brought this up on the show at all this year, but I just thought the concept of tilting at windmills, because the windmill keeps coming, which is this idiom that comes from, Don Quixote, which is like the idea of attacking imaginary enemies. And I just think that's sort of Roy's whole thing. It's the deep state. There's these just imaginary enemies. Meanwhile, all the people around Roy are truly being attacked and ruined in real life by his actions. But yeah, I've never really played the tilting with that windmills card yet this year until just now. As far as I know, I don't think I mentioned it. But
this episode also made me realize how little I know about windmills.
Yeah,
just in general, because it's something you just don't think about. Like when I think about a windmill in the old timey days, I think of like a flour mill, right? And there's like I obviously this is like more so water and stuff, like pushing this big mill around. But that's what I think of. I don't think of a windmill as more of a well type thing. And they're pumping water, right?
To keep the trough full, or back in the day also to keep, when you need to turn the pump on or any of that, that's the levers for. When he sipped that coffee, though, I just thought, Jesus, John Hamm, no big deal. I got a gal chained up out there in the abattoir. He's living it like it's just a regular old day.
And same with his ranch hand. What's his name? Bowman?
Something
like that. This is business as usual for him, too. He has no problem. Go find Dot and just murder her. Oh, okay. Hey, I got this bleeding breakfast pastry here on my office floor. Can you do something about it? No problem.
Yeah. Roy has said, the tide was turning. It's time to rally the Patriots. And then he just makes all these references to Masada. And somehow he manages to tangle it together into the most he's ever felt for that woman, kind of thing. And I don't want to feel that way again. And then just bury her. Can't even do it himself. Why? It's because he's weak. He can't even do his own stuff. If what Roy needs to do is thought about, he can't do it. He can only act on impulse and after being belittled.
I mean, he is weak. And yeah, he calls this, he says this is our Masada, which is, renowned like fortification. I think built by Herod the Great. And Herod the Great was, he had a few of these types of things, and he was a little bit weak too. In my mind, I'm no historian. Actually, I never knew the guy, but I heard.
You guys weren't friends?
I was not friends, but I knew a guy who knew a guy who knew 50 other guys.
They all tell me Herod's a great guy.
Yeah, it's like that. Because there's a story of Herod the Great where he was so upset that nobody would mourn his death that what he wanted to do was have a bunch of people, when he died, he wanted to have a bunch of people killed at the same time so that there would be mourners at his funeral when in fact they were mourning the people that he had killed.
Solid move.
That didn't happen, but that's what he wanted. And the people around him just didn't follow through with it, thank God.
I thought, wow, real clever thing though with Dorothy under the, just her hand up there, but she pulled the blanket, right? Isn't that the blanket? And we were talking about how we weren't sure, but obviously there's the blanket, and I still think the blanket's also what's covering up the well. I thought, boy, she's a master lockpicker, though, that's for sure. But yeah, TV show, I'm going to get over that. Especially, that's a really old nail, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's an old nail. There's tetanus on there. When she grabs that nail, though, I just want to say really good use of the split diopter, where the tiny little rusty nail is in focus, and also her face is in focus. I usually, and we've talked about split diopter lenses in the past because it's been used in this show before, and it's used all the time. I usually don't like it, but I really liked it here because what I usually don't like about it is that valley of blurriness that's just sometimes kind of awkward. But they hit it really well in this shot because it just kind of goes into the darkness between her hand and her face.
Gosh, you got me now. I'm scrolling through it like right now, and it's that it very lightly splits from her face just under her chin through her hair. Solid catch, man. That's fantastic. Yep. Yeah, because wasn't the first time we caught that split diopter in season 4? Or was it season 3?
Could have been. I'm not sure.
I got fixated on the nail just because I had relatives who would make all sorts of little art things out of those old-timey nails. They're all over here in the Midwest.
Yeah, I remember those old-timey nails.
We end up at Lorraine's office. She's obviously trying to get hold of Danish Graves, who we know are dearly departed. And we get all of our questions answered about, did Indira take the job? And the answer is, yep. I wasn't surprised. I was just like, wow, boom. They so helped us just answer this right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate, yep. Yeah, when we see her reaction to Danish getting killed, we start to see her break a little bit, and we've seen this before where she does actually like have a heart. She's not so tough as she portrays, and that's perhaps just that two-sidedness that we've been talking about throughout this season. So I think that, her and Indira are maybe closer than they think they are, and I think that relationship will go on for a while. So, yeah, I think she did take the job.
Who's closer than we think they are? Indira and Lorraine? Or
Indira and Lorraine. I think they're closer in character than...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe we had originally thought.
Sure.
And I also like how Indira, isn't afraid to contradict Lorraine throughout this episode. So there's respect on both sides a little bit.
I thought it was nice, too, to just see them on the phone, that even though she has sort of, quote unquote, changed teams, that we realize that they're really, what they're on is Team Dot. Their sole goal is to help Dot come back to her family in one piece. I'm not completely convinced she's doing it to get her debt paid off or to make money. We already saw Whit have his hands tied by the means he has as a law enforcement person. And so maybe Indira is just taking the other route, saying, to do what I think we need to do, I got to get out of this. I cannot be bound by the normal confines of the law. She's the quote-unquote inside man.
I dig. Yep.
Yeah, and poor Whit just having to sit there staring at that giant Tillman billboard, a hard man for hard times.
So as you said, Roy puts out a plea for the Patriots to come in. Mayday, Mayday. This is a code 1000, officer down. I love how he says all Patriots respond, because a 1000 is an officer down. Typically means all patrols respond. A little twist on words there. I loved it. This whole pathetic broadcast was absolutely wonderful. Loved seeing the chat. I read all of those chats, and it was very fun on the Sheriff Roy Tillman Freedom Watch website. You've got the Donald on there. This is huge. Huge. Nobody's ever been a better sheriff. Dare I say it? I say it. Everyone says it.
They don't think I know, but I know. Nobody knows what I know. Oh boy, do I know.
So good.
And they actually, the last comment actually says, "Mega baby. The storm is coming and the deep state won't expect what we have up our sleeve. Trust in the plan."
Yeah, definitely a QAnon reference there. He says they're coming for me the way they came for Ammon and Lavoie, which, if you guys remember back in 2016, those were two privileged white militia guys who wanted to take a stand against the tyranny of government over at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, and one of those guys ended up dead. I think it was Lavoie.
Lavoie got shot.
Do you remember that happening? That was weird.
Well, I mean, that wasn't their first time in the cahoots with stuff, because I think in 2014 they were actually in some kerfuffle in Nevada, and then eventually they were trying to do something up in Oregon where they ended up Lavoie got shot.
Right. And Ammon, who's the younger one, he I think ended up running for governor in Idaho.
I can't remember, yeah.
And lost. And his dad was a real piece of work.
Ammon's probably got his work cut out for him. He is one of 14 children. Got to get dad.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
Thanks, Wikipedia.
Okay, he's got issues. He's got family issues. One of my favorite lines of this episode was from Roy when he says, "Grab your beans and your bullets and bring your big fucking hammer because it's balls to the wall time." I hope I remember that line for the rest of my life, because I could use that a lot.
And then we obviously know that Karen has sent the girls away. I hope we get to know what they're doing, but I'm going to just say this now, and I'll continue to say it. I've actually replied to a few people in emails that I mean, I know I said it for sure around season 3 or 4, but TV shows, I have zero expectation the TV shows will explain and or tie up all loose ends. That's it. That's the deal. They don't owe us everything. That's life.
Right.
I feel like I confirmed this because I got this Noah Hawley Fargo book. This is a true story.
Oh, that's right. You bought the Noah Hawley book on Fargo. Tell us about it, Bill.
Well, the one thing I just want to read from it that I thought was fantastic was him saying, and he mostly talks about season 1 through 3 in this because they only tease season 4. But just so you know, I mean, Noah wrote the foreword in this. I mean, well, he wrote the book, but it says, over the course of multiple seasons, what we are building, you see, is a portrait of middle America, the best of us versus the worst of us. The goodness is simple, common sense people versus the evil of a lawless frontier. Yes, we have problems, but look who's solving them, is what he wrote. But he also has some commentary on the movie Fargo, where he talks about Mike Yanagata, and it has no real bearing on the story, but it just happens. Why? Because weird shit happens all the time. So I don't know. Maybe this whole
all the time.
The Shining Kids thing, maybe that's just out there for us to be like, what the fuck's up with that? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think she sent him off to the Overlook Hotel.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Oh goodness. Obviously, Dot is now making her way through all these things and sneaks her way into the house, which, you know what I realized, and I'm not trying to come down on anyone for their house or anything in just general, but I just thought it's amazing to me, if you think about powerful Roy, his house in a lot of ways is relatively sparse of what I would call more modern amenities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very much a farmhouse.
It's super farmhouse, but I mean, all the way down to just nothing is magical or fantastic. And it's almost like he's shrouded himself in family history in the past, though.
Oh, exactly. Like, even look at his bedroom. He's got like a VHS and a DVD player in there.
He can record his DVDs onto VHS if he needs to.
Oh, and sell them on eBay, probably.
Probably, yeah. Well, that's how he's making a few extra bucks to get those cool guns. It's sort of ranch housey and old worldy, but I mean, like, even the stove is just old. I wondered if it was just all a reflection, all the way down to even when Karen comes in and catches her on the phone, she's like, nothing changes here. These fucking pictures, we sleep in your filth. Like, you won't even let me change the sheets. Ugh.
That's a weird one.
Well, it is Roy and his daydreaming. Is that the reason he likes to role play? It's the only way he can have something different anymore?
Totally. Absolutely. That is definitely the reason.
Not kink shaming anybody. If you want to role play, knock yourself out. It's not my gig.
It's mine. All these little like trap doors and narrow staircases and things like that. That is very interesting to me, because that, to me, and I don't know, I grew up in the big city of Fargo. I did not grow up on a farm in North Dakota, but that seems unusual for a farmhouse. Now, I used to live very briefly in Georgia, and that kind of stuff was very common because they had all these like alternate passages for other reasons. Workers in the house. Unfortunately,
worker would somehow infer that they were paid, Charpie.
I'm sorry. For slaves.
I actually thought it was somehow a like makeshift laundry chute that they just laddered. Because didn't it go down into like a mud roomy type of thing?
Right. That would make sense. Thanks, Bill.
Sorry. No, but I'm with you. Like the laddery part. Like, huh? It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's amazing because like a cat, she just kind of knows the entire lay of the land. She like knows it all. She's like scurrying through all the little nooks and crannies. She knows exactly where she's going. And she zips right to that phone in the bedroom. She
knew that she could get into the cellar and work her way up from there. And yeah, because it's that was her home at some point. Right. And well, clearly she knows nothing there changes.
And she probably used a lot of those escapes to get away from Roy.
We get to see Karen and her unfortunate black eye. And I'm just going to say, even on the second watch, not for a single second did I think those two would join forces. Did you, for even an instant, think that they would be, that when even while she was making this plea, when did he give you that? We can end it today, you and me. I was like, no way Karen is going to take this deal.
No, I didn't. That really never crossed my mind either. Ever since her little rant in the vehicle with Odin and Roy, and she's been drinking the Kool-Aid from her father for a long time, or force-fed the Kool-Aid. she's all in. She's all in on this like weird militia patriot lifestyle with your fake enemies and all of this stuff. She's all in.
But I thought the great thing that she said in there, though, that I think we've said is just he's weak. And you could see it in Karen's face, though, that she even knows he's weak. But even if Roy's gone, she's still trapped. She's trapped. She's got Odin somewhere in there. You know, I mean, and Odin, we've already been listening to Odin dish all sorts of shit later in this episode, too, right?
That's right. And Karen is so easily overpowered by Dot. It is hilarious.
I think it's because we've learned that the people on like sort of what we'll just call our side of the fence, you know, the viewers, Dorothy, Indira, Wit, they're all non-reactionary people who are paying attention to what's going on around them. And all Dot is waiting is for the right moment to do something. Whereas Karen
that's right.
is acting in her own self-interest that she's pissed at Dot. And instead of saying, Roy, come up here now, where all these guys have got her, she's taken it into her own hands like Roy did to some degree with his situations, and Gator going off to do his own shit, you know, which didn't turn out well, buddy.
They're very much this instant gratification, immediate reactionary responses, whereas these other characters are slow and meticulous and just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah. And I don't feel any need to cover the conversation with Scotty. We sort of covered it, and we went into our love of the cookies that Scotty is holding. So we won't. I'm being serious. It's just there's no point in doing that.
That's what the hot dish is for.
When we get through with this, she manages to score herself a gun, turn on the gas, and she grabs herself a hat, which is smart. You know, right? She's got 2 eyes and full vision, and it's like, yeah, if I'm running around here as a woman in a world full of ornery men with guns, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb. I better put on a hat.
Just good thinking on the gas thing. That's a classic. That's another classic storytelling move, and one of the few times we actually saw it not work, which I thought was smart.
I know, because I loved it.
Yeah, it shows how, you know, oftentimes the villains are these big dumb oafs, and we certainly have our fair share of those. But Roy is not that. Roy is sharp, and he is always nipping at the heels of Dots. He knows her. He thinks like her. And the second he walks into the house and he sees this guy, you know, trying to light a cigarette, and thank God he didn't, I guess, for them. He's like, what the heck, man? Like, he instantly knew something was up. He could basically, I mean, he could smell the gas, but he could smell her. He knew she was there.
Yeah. But he knows that once she's escaped, she's a slippery character. And so, yeah, she just walks in. I mean, I was like, did they do that because they just didn't have the budget to blow up a house?
Maybe.
I know there's CGI, but
they spent it all at the Brace diner.
Yeah, right.
Roy knows that. Roy tells his men that, you know, they got played, and now he's on the lookout for Dot. And to nobody's surprise, and I think everybody noticed it watching this, he sees Karen, like, knocked out, maybe dead, who knows, on the floor, walks right by, doesn't faze him for a second. He's going after Dot, the love of his life, from one point in time. Still is, probably.
Well, now she's an existential threat to everything for him, right? Because if they catch her on the property, she could finally fess up and say things. So not only is he in trouble for the guns, the misappropriated funds, she could finally just say, yeah, I'm kidnapped. Hey, I just want to say I'm going to have this beer right now, and I'm going to officially open this beer. And I'm gonna have this one with a listener, Cassie Mack, did send us a note, and she says she kind of wishes she could just sit down and hash this shit out over a beer. So, hope you're having a beer, Cassie.
Let's all go to Fargo.
Oh, I'm drinking a Summit Extra Pale Ale out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Fantastic.
I'm drinking a Breckenridge Juice Drop Hazy IPA.
Oh, I was going to get a hazy out of the fridge, and then I went Minnesota. Huh. We could have been twinsies.
I got a Montucky Cold Snack as well.
Oh, I do love those. Oh, God, we almost totally forgot. Sorry, I got distracted by opening my beer. Roy, though, when he's playing his whole Marco Polo game, goes upstairs and unfortunately finds the bag of money.
Ah, yes.
Oh boy, you could see just like honest to God disappointment in his face. Like, you dumb fucking kid.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, he can't. This kid fails time and time again, and he's hammered it into him. Like, stop this. He just can't let it go.
Yeah, because he says, "What the fuck did you do?"
Yep.
The crazy part is it's almost equal parts disappointment in his kid, and that he's like, he knows it's going to come back on him, not him, Gator, him, Roy.
Mm-hmm. Another mess he's going to have to clean up in his mind.
Obviously, we close out before the commercial break. Poor Gator being strung along by the rope like a dog on a leash, a blind dog on a leash, I should say. No one's really talked about this that I would imagine. Did you make anything interesting out of the fact that we've had a lot of one-eyed men and a lot of this? But I just wondered, Gator's, I mean, we don't know if he gouged out his eyes or if he burned them all, or we don't know for sure what. We just know he can't see and he's got an eye for an eye, and he took both of them.
Yeah, I think they were gouged out with hot poker. And you know what? Yeah, we have seen a lot. There has been a lot of talk about like eyes and eye for an eye and one-eyed men. You know what? Danish? We've mentioned like, yeah, what happened to his eye? Blah, blah, blah. You know what? Maybe he had to pay a debt.
My most random thought about it was at some point, and I don't mean he's the justice. I just mean like, but justice is blind. So now Gator is, a lot of like film and TV references will say like, my eyes are finally open. Well, I maybe think right now, I'm calling it, maybe now that he's blinded, Gator may very well come to his own new senses.
Well, absolutely. Because of one of those, what do you call it? Just like crushing lines at the end of this episode from Roy.
Oh,
but we'll get there.
Okay. Hold that thought.
Erstwhile, Dot manages to get on the phone again and calls Indira and Lorraine back at Redemption Services. So this is where I screwed up. I already talked about how Lorraine finds out that Danish is dead, but that is actually right now.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen the show. If you're listening to this, I hope you have seen the show.
But Lorraine, so Dot calls Indira, and Lorraine's actually on the phone with Bill.
Yeah.
You? Bill?
No.
You know Lorraine? No. I'm going to assume that she's talking to Bill Barr, of the AG of the Orange Idiot.
Oh.
Because Bill Barr was the AG in 2019.
Dang, I did not put that together. Of course, I literally thought the same thing you did. I was like, oh, you're on the phone with me?
You wish.
Bill Barr. Yeah, I suppose. That's a solid call. Bill Barr.
Dot says, that she's safe, but she's like a fish on the floor, which I thought was a great line. How long do you think a fish can last out of water?
To find out would be cruel and weird. I'm not one of those people. Also, the reason I don't like fishing.
I know that not from experience, but just a standard pet goldfish can supposedly last out of water for like an hour.
Wow.
And I think most fish can last around 10 minutes. Some can last months. That's right. Months.
But what if the other way is wrong?
What do you mean?
What if all the fish are swimming one way and one is swimming the other way? I'm referencing season 1, you dingus. The poster in Lester Freeman's basement. What if the other way is wrong? It's a school of
that's
fish.
A deep cut.
Sorry.
That's a deep cut, Bill.
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
I've been thinking about Lauren Malvo actually this season more than I thought I would.
I think you think about Lauren Malvo a lot more than most people.
It's a fantastic villain.
Of all of the Fargo villains, it's tough for me between Lauren Malvo, Malvo and Munch. It's between.
Well,
those
the other
two
key is that I don't think Malvo and Munch. I think they're of a similar like otherworldly being, but I don't think Ole is the antagonist of this season the way Lauren was. That the antagonist this season is Roy.
Mm-hmm. True. Yep.
Ole is just something else.
He's like the universe, man. He's like in the middle. He is.
Oh, he's the UFO.
Exactly.
He's the unknown. He's the thing that you just can't. You know it's there, but you just can't put your finger on it. Or why are you like this? Or You know, I mean, I read it in the opening of that book just briefly that it was it made me understand it more, and I'm really worried that I'm going to read this book that I just referenced earlier. I've literally only read like 5 pages. It's going to ruin everything I think I thought I knew, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but isn't that kind of the point of books? I mean, that's what makes them interesting.
Oh, it is. I just I can't be wrong until I hear something else.
I think it's interesting to know how they put out a book, 3 seasons in, right?
I just hope there's a follow-up, because this book covers 3 seasons and then teases the 4th with the first page and a half script of season 4. So I hope there's Noah, if you're listening, please, can you do a book on 4, 5, 6? Because I don't want it to be lonely on the shelf.
It's a beautiful book. I bought it. It'll arrive tomorrow. Hardcover. It's very lovely. All of the artwork around this show is so fun.
And if you think this book is going to answer all your questions, it won't. It's just, I mean, why would they? I mean, that's the whole point, is they have to leave some things up to our own interpretation. Okay, we got to get back to it. So Indira and Roy killed Danish. Dot's talking about it. And then there's also these moments of the busybody who's making her do all these things. And I think it's that after Indira actually told her, you guys aren't that much different, I need you to look at this file. I do think that they're trying to show us that some people can change, because if we can't change, we're fucking doomed, Charpie.
Totally.
Is Gator maybe going to have like a small change? Does it make him a saint? Fuck no. Is Lorraine still totally greasy in certain other points of her life? Oh, by the way, the Golden Globes. Did you watch any of that? I just have to say,
No.
Thomas McFadden, when he called Tom Wamsgans a human grease stain, it just made my heart sing. It was such a great way to talk about Tom Wamsgans, CEO Tom Wamsgans, as he said. Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay. Sorry, Succession notes there. We don't do a show on Succession. I wish we did. But there's that total duality of pulling of like, put on your big girl pants and get in the fight, see? And then she's like, immediately Indira's like, don't get in the fight.
Yeah.
It just shows that even though they are wanting the same thing in the outcome, you can give the exact diametrically opposed advice, right? To the same person.
Yes. Yep. And it shows I think just shows a level of respect that each of them have for each other, because if Lorraine was as big and bad as she's made out to be in some scenarios, that would not be acceptable for somebody that works for her. And in this case, it was totally fine and hilarious, and I loved it.
We also get the closest thing to tender we can say between Lorraine and Dot. Were you moved by her saying, no daughter of mine is going to fall down on the 1 yard line?
Yeah, I mean, that was a good exchange. Because Dot really puts it out front. She's like, why would you care now? Like, you've hated me your whole life, or since I've entered your life, and now all of a sudden you pretend to care. And yeah, Lorraine does break a little bit, and then I think so does Dot in response to that, because Dot, I think both of these phone calls, and I think more so the first one, but both of them are maybe her thinking this might be her last call. I think that's the reason why she called Wayne the first time, and you mentioned this in the hot dish, and I think you're right. She called Wayne instead of 911 or Indira or whatever, because she wanted to say goodbye. She thought this might be it. This might be the end, because she's not calling Wayne. She knows her husband. She knows he's kind of a doofus. She's not calling Wayne to like have him come save the day or help her out or anything like that. He was a doofus before. He's even more now.
Wait, didn't we rule out the word doofus for people like nice guys like that? Let's call him a dingus. Let's call him a dingus, maybe. Or he's a lovable lunk.
He's a lovable lunk. Not a douches. That was Lars.
Yeah.
And she gets a little bit choked up as well, because she's finally getting accepted by her mother-in-law.
With a healthy dose of skepticism, though, which is duly owed.
Sure. I think Lorraine has been denying herself this realization for probably years, in that Dot is actually the daughter she wished she had. Because Lorraine also knows her son isn't like, he's not a Roy Tillman. He's not like a strong, masculine character, and she tries to put off this aggressive energy herself, and she wants that in her family and her legacy, But her son's not that. He's not. Wayne's just a cool dude who's just lovable, a lovable lunk, like you said. And Dot is actually, who she's longed for, to be honest, and maybe sees a little bit of herself in. And
thanks to Indira, right?
Yeah, thanks to Indira. And maybe perhaps never wanted to admit that. And I don't know why. There's more to that story that we'll never know.
I mean, because when you're talking about that, she does care. We already feel like we ascertained that she cares for her son. That's why she wanted to take him home, nurse him back with his stuffies and his favorite foods. And I think it's very full circled in that Wayne has very clearly kind of come back around to being okay because he's been back at work and now he's at the grocery store with Scotty and is also letting her get cookies and not donuts, which is another funny kind of thing, because remember, it's like, oh, maybe we better have some vegetables. But it's very clear that Dad is like, fuck the vegetables. We're even eating the cookies on the way to the car. You're right. There's these moments that are happening and they're met with a certain amount of skepticism, but they also tell us like, maybe Roy's right. The tides are turning. We don't have to love the way Lorraine makes her money, but it doesn't change the fact that she can change the way she feels about a person.
People can change.
Yeah. Everybody should be given the ability to change. We right. will. You and I probably don't think the show is about the same things that we did even. Who knows? We're a lot dumber and more childish back then. We're still pretty childish.
Probably. But back to the feds and the SWATs showing up.
Yeah, let's go.
I like that they said Eye in the Sky says 40-plus weekend warriors. I liked that line because obviously I'm reading into everything too much. But so I think, they've got like a helicopter up there that says, there's probably 40 dudes out here, weekend warriors. What I immediately thought.
Oh, God, I'm really worried what you were going to say here.
It's just a bunch of 40-plus weekend warriors, like a bunch of 40-year-old weekend warriors. But I think you could read it both ways. Both are true. Both things can be true.
Actually, this is a great segue. Let's talk about war and Odin and his awful conversation with Roy about, are you the Hitler at the Reichstag or the Hitler in the bunker? And you called the good Hitler references way back in episode 1.
Yeah, well, they run thick through this family. A bunch of wannabe Nazi fascists. And Odin seems to be losing a little bit of faith here in his little son-in-law.
He's not having it. He's, somehow, even though he's already belittled his daughter, he somehow still cares that his daughter is with the right man. What is your problem, dude?
His daughter that he described, just the day before as like a bag of bolts or something.
Yeah. Just terrible people. The one thing I thought of is, are you the Hitler of this? And I was like, they're both the same Hitler and that asshole's dead.
That's true.
Like, for real, it's the same person. They're just two different timelines of fuckface.
They're both Hitler. That's the point.
And neither of them are worthy of any admiration of any kind.
Well, no, just kidding. Loved the band. Loved the banter between. I kid. I love the banter between the feds though, and the North Dakota SWAT team here. We can't pass that up. I mean,
no. This is pure Coen Brothers universe and Noah Hawley. Noah was the solitary writer on this episode, I believe.
Okay. Did not catch that. But yeah, the going back to the Eyes in the Sky and how they said there's women and children out there. The North Dakota SWAT guy's like, it's hurtful. It's hurtful that you don't think the state cares about women and children. Side note, they don't. But that whole little back and forth thing was so good, and it goes so fast, and it makes part of that part of the episode and that whole setup. I loved it.
It also somehow manages to lighten the heaviest of themes.
Right. True. Totally.
What I kind of like is that it's Joaquin and what's the other agent's name?
Miss Joaquin.
Well, I'm going to use the actual name. But he's basically like, go and live or stay and die and all this stuff. And even when she's like, you talk about the witch hunts in the deep state. And I was like, I love the line about the whole, you do know that the witch hunts were actually a bunch of shitty men trying to fuck with a bunch of women. It's what it is. So what you're describing as a witch hunt is historically not true. but it's just so classically Roy. The whole scene is just smattered with stuff. But I think we're trying to get to the heart of the meanings of stuff in this episode, or the heart of what's happening.
This whole thing with the feds and the SWAT and Roy and Odin and the FBI and Wit, there's just so many conversations going on at kind of the same time, where a lot of people actually aren't listening to each other. Like the feds and the SWAT, they hear each other, they're kind of razzing each other, but are they really listening to each other? We don't know. Roy and Odin, Odin's sitting here saying, "Are you Hitler at the Reichstag or in the bunker?" And what is Roy saying? He's like talking about turkey and ham sandwiches. They don't even this was like a conversation between me and my dad. Like we would just be saying, it would be just like that, just opposite things, total like complete conversations that have nothing to do with each other. And you just one line here, one line there, one line here, one line there. Ham or turkey, ask them. Like completely just not acknowledging each other. That's not what it was like between the SWAT and the feds, but it was like similar in the sense that they're just kind of like all of these weird staccato conversations going on where nobody is like really acknowledging anything. Nobody really acknowledged that witch hunt statement.
Yeah.
As good as it was.
It might have been one of my favorite line, like in terms of things that can be entertaining and funny. It was maybe one of my favorite lines of the episode.
Sure. Wit did get his confirmation too on like having like a special team, so that was good. But
just thinking about the Tillman Ranch in general, when this fog comes in, you really notice the pseudo kind of disrepair of parts of the Tillman Ranch. You know, the cupola is kind of at an angle and tilting and failing, and it sort of made me realize that even in the walk from the last episode and certain things, that this self-described salt of the earth rancher, who's really just a mild dictator, anti-government, deep state fighter, is not the caretaker of the land that he sort of makes himself out to be. Because a little bit you want to be like, Jesus, Roy, you don't update the house, you don't take care of things, your barn's fucking falling apart. You know, I mean, it's kind of like, I always joke, nothing says more about like, geez, some of my relatives, sorry, some of them might listen to this show. You know, you go to the shelter belt and they'd throw their old refrigerator and washer and dryer out in the shelter belt instead of like taking it. Why? Well, I'd have to pay somebody to take it away, or it would take too much time. And then, you know, like, how many hills have you seen out in the country here where somebody just drove an old like steam thresher out there and be like, just fucking park at the top.
Oh my God. Almost every one.
Now I know where to turn right, you know, like go there until you see the old Case International steam thresher, then hang a right a quarter mile after that.
Yeah. It like became a lawn ornament.
The sort of disrepair of the actual functionality of the ranch. And I thought, maybe he's you know, for what he's claiming he's actually kind of an absentee dad. Ooh,
totally.
Really
he's a useless hand. Everybody in this episode's a useless hand almost on that side. Anyway,
Dot goes to hide in the roughest of places.
In the grave, which Roy referred to like directly. He goes, you know, he's like, I'll go check the...
when he talks to Bowman, yeah.
Yeah. I'll go check, what does he call it? The dugout, and you go check the grave. Doesn't say the windmill. He just straight up says the grave.
Yeah, hang tight on that dugout thing for a moment. But
all right.
The grave, and that means it ain't just one person in there either.
No, we've got Linda. We've got, well, I guess the cop that died, he wasn't put in there, right? He was like placed back in his car or something. But there's several news articles about missing people that Whit was reading in the diner way back in time. How people just seem to go missing around the Tillman Ranch. So there's probably a few people under there.
Yeah. So what we end up doing, though, is we find the thing I was asking to hold tight on is this thing called the Dugout, which I saw that and immediately thought of the stories I heard of my early family coming to this region on the train. And I mean, these, at least what I think that is, and you can look into the North Dakota Historical Society. You know, the train would come up here in way back in the day, and the winters were harsh, and it was the only thing available to a lot of these people was to make homes out of sod and dirt. And so there was not a lot of lumber available to people. So this dugout to me is what is very typically an old sodden home. Totally. And it's clear Roy has built a little world out of this. I think this is part of their generational family's history. I don't know if it was all of that, but what I couldn't figure out was, and I still can't, is what was on the floor. Is this where Ole was in that one episode? He was in this? Oh, okay, this makes sense. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, this is where Ole was. His face actually just very briefly fades into this scene. It's very subtle. If your TV is dark, you're probably not even going to see it.
God dang it, Charpie, you're right. I'm just scrubbing very slowly, and it is. And not only is it his face, it's his face from that scene, all covered in dirt and mud. God dang it. Yep. Thank you.
I don't know what that thing is. It's like a burnt carcass of something maybe. But you're right. Those homes are very common. And that's because hardwood trees and stuff aren't indigenous to North Dakota. So trees, just regular trees you think of, they didn't exist in North Dakota until Europeans brought them over.
When the Dust Bowl happened and all the soil blew away, especially in Grand Forks County, which is north of Fargo by 70 miles, it's probably still that way. Everywhere you go up there, Grand Forks County is the shelter belt, is the world's largest congregation of shelter belts, and shelter belts are just giant strings of trees planted purposefully in perfect squares and columns to block off plots of farmland from wind erosion. So yeah, you're right. There was not, those types of trees were not natural. We put these all here, these European settlers and post Dust Bowl folks.
This dugout, I don't know if you have a theory about it, but we did see Ole in here. It is very traditional, older style home for this part of the land. Do you think that maybe this is where Ole's always been from? And just like Ole kind of squatted on Mama in her house, that maybe the Tillmans just kind of came in and said, hey, this is our land, we claim it, but this guy's been here for 500 years?
I didn't think of that, but I'm entertaining that.
Let's hear your theory.
You've thought about it. Well, you've just thought about it deeper. I'm more about a prediction about it.
Okay, let's go.
I'm not ready.
Okay.
Okay, fine. You know what? I'll just go for it. I think that Roy, not only, he flat out tells us, he says, he clicks the lights on and kind of does it just in case. But what's dangerous about this is that the minute he exits, we know that Ole has now brought Gator here and knows exactly where it is. And he has to know what it is, too. Because the question is, so where does it go? There's a tunnel, right? It goes somewhere. So he knows, Roy knows about it. Gator knows about it. Bowman knows about it. Ole knows about it. I have a hard time believing that it's some way Dot knows about it, right? For sure.
Sure.
And even Karen. Yeah. Karen knows about it, right? There's people all over that know about this. And what I think about when I think about it is that Roy thinks it's an escape, and I just don't think Roy is going to escape any kind of... Well, we're going to have to talk about this soon. I want to cover the debts that we think are existing and that are unpaid, and I think many of them will have to be, air quotes, paid by the end of this season. One of them is presented to us directly outside of the dugout when Roy leaves, and these two fellas emerge from the mist. Tell me about it.
We see the fog fades. A man struggles at the end of a leash. Or is it a rabbit? Here we have Gator on the end of a string by none other than Ole Munch. In total control, using Gator as a shield. The boy is unable to comply.
Yep.
Basically, great scene. Ole getting a little bit of a revenge here from on the Tillmans, and he's also teaching them a lesson. Hey, this is a hand here, and he stole, and the Bible says this for that, and I'm gonna have to give you your hand back. I'm gonna give it back, but when I do, you're not gonna be able to use it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole point of him gouging or burning out his eyes, right? So he's not killing Gator. No, he's giving Gator back. But Gator's just not going to be able to be Gator as much anymore. And the problem has been resolved.
I just somehow I keep thinking that because he's blind, he's actually going to be able to see better. Little soul crushing, this scene, though. You know, we've been talking about this kind of not attempt. It's very clear they're trying to do something. This building. Do we feel something for Gator? I mean, because he leaves him there, and what is it Roy says to him? Like, you're of no use to me now.
He says, if there was ever a point to you, it's gone now.
It's gone now. Thank you. And then he leaves him.
What a line.
Yeah.
He leaves him. Doesn't even bother to untie him. Just left him on the ground, just like he left his wife, dead on the ground, or at least knocked out, to none of our surprise, right? Because Roy, like many of these types of characters, only care about themselves. They put on like they're some like family man, macho man, all America, patriot, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, they're weak little babies that don't want any responsibility and only care about themselves.
Yeah.
And I also loved Ole's line during this whole thing when he's talking about these derogatory terms we use to Welsh, to Gyp, to Jew. You know, these are words we've used to double cross somebody, as if like an entire lineage is defined like by this one action or something like that.
Their lineage has nothing to do with it. Crime is, and doing things that are morally against the current times has nothing to do with where you're from, with who you are and what you are, ethnically, religiously, politically. You know, I've always kind of joked. I've always said being an asshole is an equal that's the most equal opportunity employer that I can think of, is being an asshole. Because I've been one. If you know, to some people.
Totally,
sure.
Me too.
When he says "Daddy," he just leaves the poor guy there. Jesus.
I don't even know if we'll see Gator again, to be honest.
I do.
You do.
I'm certain we'll see him.
Yeah. And so now we're over at the grave, and you know, this one had us all shouting at the TV because Dot obviously left the gun that she had grabbed from the Tillman house and left it outside of the tub under the windmill, leaving an obvious sign that, you know what, she's hiding out under the tub and the windmill.
Mm-hmm.
But it had us both shouting at the TV, going like, no, 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 no.
But I mean, that's the good thing of storytelling, is that even the best of heroes, heroines, whatever, everybody makes mistakes. It happens, you know. And I mean, here, the other thing, right before this, you know, we already ascertained from before that Whitfar wanted to help lead a team to save Dot because, you know, let's start talking about this. He feels he owes a debt to Dot. My massive concern is that right before this scene, they show all of the military guys coming around the back way, going to look and save Dot, and they're doing the whole pat each other on the back, you know, the military thing you do. I noticed that, unfortunately, what scares me the most is that they're all in tactical gear, and Whitfar is going in my opinion, massively underprepared. He doesn't have... I can't even tell if he's wearing a vest. You know, all these other guys have masks, tactical gear, helmets. He's wearing a very traditional warm hat with a deputy sheriff's type shield on it. And I'm worried that in his effort to help Dot, he is going to pay the ultimate price, and he may very well pay with his life to save hers. Anyway, so yeah, she's in the hole in the grave, and we're screaming at the TV, right? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you know, Whitfar's out there trying to come in, and I just feel he's under armored, not the brand, under armored.
Yep, he is. And Bowman and the henchmen catch on right away. They see that gun, they know she's in there. Yep. Oh yeah, Bowman and the Patriots.
Yeah,
good band name.
Great band. I love their second album. By the third, they got a little meta for me.
Totally agree. Yeah, so they find her, and Dot's down in this hole holding this big femur, which is what I assume. You know, I'm a bone expert. Most people know me as that. That's definitely a femur bone. In the hot dish, I was like, did she just like squeeze that bone out of a partially decomposed Danish pastry, but I'm sure she just got it from somebody else in there. That could have been Linda's leg. That could have been a Linda leg. And who comes to save the day? None other than Ole Munch, who takes down those guys like it ain't no thing.
Yeah,
which is great. Another one of those times where we don't have to see the violence to leave it to our imagination and imagine, he's this swift, powerful, otherworldly creature that has the ability to take on 3 men with guns with no issue.
I had minor Smoke Monster Lost moments where it's like things are just happening and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah. Totally. And, kind of saves Dot. Well, does save Dot in a way where he's paying a debt as well, because Dot could have ended him at the gas and go from way back.
Mm-hmm.
And, he perhaps admits that, she's a formidable foe and this needs to be a fair fight. And you know what? He doesn't have really skin in the game anymore. He's not doing a job anymore. He knows who the bad guys are, and she's not one of them. And you know what? She could have ended him, and she didn't. And he could now as well, and he's not going to, because he owes her. He's paying his debt. This for that.
I don't know if he's paying a debt, or if he's just making sure he believes in a weird fairness. There is nothing for him to finish because the money is gone. The money was the transactional basis for the thing he agreed to do, and then Gator ruined it by taking it back. But by taking it back, he extracted something else from Ole that he was like, well, okay, fine, you got the money, but I got to get you back for the thing you had. And the thing that he got was, unfortunately, Irma's life. Although, I still haven't figured out, in this world of Ole, what gave him the right to take out the son, right? Like, we kind of have been talking about this, like, interesting morality that Ole has, but what gives him the right to go axe murder the kid in the front yard? Just that he was mean to his mom? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either.
Then again, doesn't have to be explained. We don't have to understand. We don't always have to understand.
I said it earlier, I think, like, he's not exactly an innocent guy. What gives him the right to just invade Irma's house? He's not even though he's like seemingly neutral to a degree, he's definitely not an innocent character.
No, he's not. Yeah, I don't want his plushie on my bed just yet. But it is a great thing, though, whereas the tiger can come out now, which is bringing us very full circle. Just generally in the whole universe of this season, and that boy that she has, though, this episode has 2 full-blown dot flashes that I guarantee you, if you're a video editor, are probably only about 3 to 4 frames at best.
Ooh,
yeah. What do you want?
They did this throughout. They've been doing this for a bit now, and I absolutely love it. It's very like Fight Clubby, Tyler Durden-y.
Oh God, Tyler Durden pointing to the cigarette burn in the corner of the film. David Fincher, right, directed those? No, yeah, David Fincher. But yeah, she saw Scotty and Wayne in front of their house. So she thought she was going down. She thought this was the end.
Yep.
Where do you remember some other ones you caught or not?
Well, when she's talking to Lorraine on the phone, Lorraine's like, you got to get out of there, go find someplace safe to hide. And it's just like, boom, like 2 frames of the windmill. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the tiger is free, and they rip into Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers. So also, I got to give a shout out. I should have done it at the top of the episode, but I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend Riley and her husband Jack, who's also my friend. They're both my friends. They had a baby, and they literally were trying to figure out about listening to our podcast on the way to the hospital or something like that. It's insane. It's insane, but they're wonderful people, and I love you both. Congratulations on the birth of your new kid. Hopefully you'll still hear this. And anyway, back to the show. Something nice in the world, right? Lovely new gal has joined the world. You talked really early about it in the season, and I find myself recollecting on it now about what are the debts that need to be paid and how are they being set up. Okay, so Gator's debt is sort of paid. So his dad is written off. He's kind of in the clear. I think the weird debt that there is for him is he's been shown a little bit of heart from Dorothy. So will she be the one to lead him away safe? And will it be through the giant dugout tunnel? Or will the showdown happen in the tunnel? Will Roy's escape become, well, I'll just say it. Are you going to be the Hitler in the Reichstag? Or are you going to be the Hitler in the bunker?
You think the dugout is a tunnel?
Or is it a bunker or a whatever?
I think it's a bunker.
I think it's a bunker too, but I don't know. Where does it go?
He's going to get buried there.
Maybe. Or does it go somewhere? He turns on that light in that door. Where's it go? How far back does that thing go? Think about it. He walked in a ways, and then he turned on we're talking about like an anti-government militant weirdo, dude.
I got to be honest. I didn't understand the just in case line. What is he saying just in case? He's turning on the lights? Is that what he's doing?
Charpie, go pull this up for real right now. Go to he clicks on the light at 35 minutes and 54 seconds. And the lights turn on and there is just more. It just goes straight back. There's 3 to 4 light bulbs going straight back. And we don't know where they go. And that's when he says just in case. I think that's his escape route. It might just come out somewhere else, but the point is still the same. There's a reference to are you going to be the man who stands strong, or are you going to be the guy that kills himself in your bunker? Maybe it's not that he's going to kill himself. Maybe he's going to meet his end in the bunker, and maybe it'll be Ole, and they'll be like, who's Ole? No one's ever seen him, right? Except for 3 people. Like, who has actually seen Ole in this episode that may or may not be alive at the end?
It does go on for a bit. Yeah, so he is Hitler in the bunker.
Maybe. So there's a debt to be paid for certain people. Like, I think Indira is working her best to pay back her debt to Lorraine by helping her do it. I think she's doing the moral thing with no debt to try help Dorothy. Whitfar is very clearly trying to pay a debt of saving his life. And I think to save his life, her life, he unfortunately might go too hard.
I hope not.
Roy's debt is going to be something worse. I have almost 99.9% confidence. No, I can't. After all our talk about like bloodlust, we all want Roy to die, but maybe it is more satisfying to see him not murdered.
I think so. I think it's way more satisfying to see him not, because
But what if he's killed by a 500-plus-year-old sin eater?
I think it's still more interesting if he doesn't die.
Will somebody stop Dot from killing him? Because she already said, I have a plan. I got a plan. I'm going to kill you.
She did say that. And if he didn't die, then that would be unfortunate for her saying that. So, yeah, I guess you're right in that regard. But I think it's more interesting for him to live, because idiots like him never seem to suffer the consequences of their actions. They always seem to get away. Yeah.
It's funny that my note at the end of the first watch that I jokingly wrote down was, now the tiger's free. And I wrote a note that says, is Ole the closest thing to justice there is? Which then, after listener Mark wrote into me asking about something that made me think about, I don't know, justice is blind. Oh my God, I'm having a moment here. What if by accident Gator, blind, tries to do the right thing and shoots and kills his own father? Because he's an idiot and he acts fast. So now he's blind. His father abandoned him. And what he does ends up killing him, which satisfies us, but doesn't do it in the way, and it doesn't get anyone else's hands dirty, that we sort of want to say, or keep clean. Ooh, I don't know if I believe it, but it's fun to say.
That is a good one.
Justice is blind, man. Gator kills his dad. Ooh, I like it. I like it right now. Maybe it's this second beer I'm having, but I like it a lot because I'm a jerk.
You are a jerk, Bill.
Any other hot items from this episode you want to talk about, or should we wrap this up?
Nope. The season always goes so fast.
Yeah, I think so in some ways. I feel like it goes super slow, and then somewhere after episode 7, at least for me, even the work we put into this, it goes rapid. Like, I feel like we're sometimes finally into the groove. And I think it's a little bit because you and I don't do any other shows. And by the way, thank you so kindly to the amount of people who have asked if Charpie and I do other shows. We do not. I don't know. When season 4 ended, I thought, there'll probably be another one, but I don't know. I'm a little interested in, no one's going to answer this, but when they put so many years in between seasons, there's a speculation. What do you think? Do you think that, Noah and the team have said, you know what, we opened this episode with a very true homage to the film, and this is where we're gonna like, this is the capstone.
Well, you're right about that. This is seemingly more like there's some capstoning going on. There's a lot more references to the original movie than there has been in previous seasons, outside of season 1. So it does kind of feel like it's rounding out, but I could also see this kind of thing like even being handed off to other writers and just going on forever, because every season is this tiny little vignette of a very cool universe. There's no need to stop it. Like, there's nothing you have to like, you don't have to hold on to the same actors or crew or anything like that. It can just be a thing that goes on forever.
I know what you mean, but I hope it doesn't. I love it when things come to a what feels like a logical end. I'm not saying they can't, and I'm not trying to kiss anyone's ass here. I just don't know if anyone could embody it in the way that I feel that Noah Hawley, and he has continually gone back to the well of some of the same people behind all these things. Dana and Jeff and Maggie and the people that we've kind of noticed. I guarantee you there are tons of other people. I don't know. I hope it carries on. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. All right, Charpie. Well,
this show has been brought to you by my app, Cora. That's like Laura with a K. Cora.co. If you like cool soundscapes to relax to or meditate to or work out to or sleep to or sleepscapes or whatever you like kind of stuff, I got this app that I made, and you can go download it if you have an iPhone.
All I've brought to this is rambling and an aging liver.
And if you want a free account on Cora, you can email us, and I'll give you one.
Send us a note, podcast@FargoTalksFargo. We do have a Fargo Talks Fargo Facebook page that I declared was dead going into season 4, but then I just wrote, just kidding, on the thing. It's not dead. It's just that we just don't participate there. And then we do have our new Instagram account, and maybe we'll continue to post on Threads, because who knows, maybe Charpie and I will do a whole rerun. We'll do Fargo Talks Fargo 2, the next generation, where we'll rewatch the show without ever listening to our own episodes and just rehash the whole thing again for those of you who are just want to deal with that kind of pain. But let's button this one. Yes, you are. You will be there with me. I will hold you close to my gentle, loving bosom.
All right, fine.
All right, we'll see you next week, Charpie.
All right, chicken piccata. Bye now.